Right, everyone. Welcome to tonight's event, Behind the Boards, Podcasting, Music, and Passion with V. White. So excited to welcome you to tonight's event. My name is Carolina Ojaj, and I'm Associate Director of Alumni Engagement and Volunteer Programs at St. John's. Very happy to have Veronica as our guest. She is ready. She came ready, and we are pumped to have you, Veronica. Just some quick announcements before we get started. Tonight's going to be a really light, casual, informal conversation for about 30 or 40 minutes. I'll be asking Veronica some questions, and we'll have a dedicated time for Q&A at the end. You may also use the Q&A chat box to set any questions through, and I'll be sure to interweave them into the conversation. And use the chat function to keep chatting with each other, getting to know each other. We just want to make this as fun and interactive as possible. Just so you all know, your cameras are disabled and your microphones are muted. But when the time for question comes up, we'll be sure to unmute you if you use the raise your hand or question mark feature to indicate that you'd like to come off mute to ask a question. So without further ado, I'm happy to introduce you to Veronica. Veronica is a native Harlem, New Yorker. She's a dancer, a blogger, and a writer who pursued a bachelor's degree in English at St. John's. Currently, she is lead campaign specialist for a nutraceutical company in New York, the host of Behind the Boards podcast, and also the self-proclaimed coolest mom in her Long Island block. It was just her son's birthday last week, right, Veronica? So we're celebrating him. Last week?
This Tuesday.
This Tuesday. All right. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
She began her journey into the field of media after a semester of communications and journalism, where she met her now co-producer, Lou. In 2015, he reached out to her with the idea of creating this show to profile and highlight the efforts and stories behind the creation of today's biggest hits, with Veronica as the host. The show is currently in post-production and wrapping up the second season and will be released to all major streaming platforms later this year, so we'll definitely have to check it out. White is also an entrepreneur and has two lifestyle-based apparel and merch brands, Ours by V. White and With Honors. She's also currently working on a second podcast because one definitely wasn't enough. That will explore her philosophies, her experiences, and the aha moments in her life. Thank you so much, Veronica, for being our speaker and taking us behind the boards tonight.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So happy. So let's get back to where it all started, which was really at St. John's. Tell us how you met Lou, how the story of Behind the Boards came about, and walk us through that journey.
So I met Lou, I think sophomore year in St. John's College, I think in business class. He was just a guy that I kept seeing in different classes. He was in my communications class. Once, that semester was over, he was in my journalism class. We had to do a piece on yellow journalism, and me and him collaborated on that. And I think he just kind of kept me in his mental Rolodex moving forward. For a host for his show that he was planning on doing. So he does have multiple shows that he works on, contributes to. He wanted somebody that was personable, dynamic, but could also roll with the dudes. So I'm not like a high key tomboy, but I am a low key tomboy. So I can, hang out with dudes. I'm the type of woman that can hold a conversation with a male and, them not feeling like, uncomfortable to tell me things that they would tell their bros or whatever. So, it was easy for me to get into that. And also I love music, I have a huge love for music, aficionado. So,
You went to the right school, that's for sure.
Right. So, it was easy for me to kind of slide into that. Very talkative. So, I don't have an issue doing this. It doesn't feel like work. I enjoy doing it. And we just kind of went from there. He just talked to me and said that he basically he saw this blog that I was doing. I mean, this is back in Tumblr days. And the thing about my blog is that it didn't really have a specific goal or objective. It was really just whatever I thought, whatever I felt, whatever I was talking about. And we started to kind of track the viewers of the blog because I started to notice that the numbers were rising pretty quickly in a short period of time. And my highest percentage of viewers and visitors were males, 24 to 36, I think, at the time, or 24 to 35, I think it was. And I was just like, why do men want to read this? You know, what did I know? I'm not talking about girly things, but I don't feel like I'm so, you know, in tune with dudes that, they would be interested, especially not older dudes, that they'd be interested in reading this. But they were, which was, interesting. And there was also this guy, Jaime, who I met, who was like really cool with like members of the Wu-Tang. He's an older guy. But he was always inviting me to his loft downtown to get into stuff because he was like really into like cross promotion and having me blow up in Brazil. And I'm like a really private person, so I was like, no, I don't want to be like a well-known blogger. I like anonymity. I don't want to be walking down the street and somebody notices me. And he was like, no, you could really do this. And this is like way before Instagram or even being Insta famous or anything like that. So I had to wonder, why is this I want to say what he is. I feel like he was either Italian or I'm not sure what he was, like, to be honest. But I think he was Italian. And I was like, why would he care about this? And he said, no, this is really cool. I like this stuff. So I had a, thing in my mind to kind of turn this into something, but I didn't know what I wanted to turn it into. And then he came to me, Lou came to me with this proposition about, hey, could you be the host, for this podcast? And this is like when podcasting was kind of getting started. And I was like, well, what is that? And, you know,
And this is from Lou's recollection of you as a student in class, and also because you rolled with the dudes, as you said. Like, it's kind of like it was just a natural fit.
he knew that I was very knowledgeable on music, and he felt that I could, be a good host to the show, and that, obviously dudes would want to talk to a girl. They like talking to other guys too, but they would want to talk to a girl. So we kind of just went with that, and I was, like kind of like, how's this gonna go? But as I started to meet the people, flowed just like this, regular conversation. No matter who I'm talking to, who I'm interviewing, it was just really normal and chill. And I was like, I would do this for free. I don't mind doing this. It's not a big deal. So then he started to come up with other ideas that he would like, as far as bringing this to like a televised platform, syndication, and other streaming sites. And then, because we're still in post production of the second season, we haven't gone, all the way out as far as, going on streaming sites and stuff like that. We just kind of wanted to do like a soft opening, and kind of see how people liked it. And people liked it. So we were able to pull a couple of really big names in the industry. And I was like, why do they want to talk to us? So because it's like, I guess, promotion, of course people want to promote, but I felt like you had to have certain connections in order to do stuff like that. But it didn't really go down like that. They kind of just liked the feel of the show. They enjoyed listening to it. And I mean, these are like real producers who've been in the game for a long time. So I thought, this is cool. I could do this. So we're wrapping everything up as far as editing and engineering for the second season. And this took a while to do because this started so many years ago, but there was a pause in everything because I became pregnant. And so things had to kind of slow down for a minute. It's pretty crazy because we were doing the photo shoot for the source, and they wanted to do a feature for us and of us or on us. And I had no idea. I was 2 months pregnant during this time. And I just kind of was like, wow, I was just getting ready to get started doing all these things. And now I find this out, and I'm like, well, what's going to happen? So I continued interviewing during that time. At some point I did tell Lou. And then,
when it was necessary.
right. And, it was fine. One of the guys that was involved in photography, he came down to the baby shower and everything. So it was cool. Everybody was on board with it. And, We just kind of put things on ice for a little bit, and then we got started back up once things, got a little bit more stabilized around my household as far as me, with time management and things like that. And, we kind of just didn't miss a step after that. So, of course, I kind of, now that I live in Long Island, um, things were not how they were, because we're working out of Dumbo, at a studio in Dumbo. And then sometimes we were working out of Times Square or Herald Square sometimes, at a studio out there and doing our interviews. A lot of times we have to go to people's residences. So when we did the Wyclef interview, we had to go to New Jersey. When we did the Darnell interview, which is a kid that was on Sweet 16, he's the heir to the Sugar Hill Records throne, and we had to go out there to his house. And so there was another interview with Zaytoven. We had to go down to that. I think that was in Essex or Delancey or something like that. We had to go all the way downtown. So now that I'm a mom, it's like I kind of really have to, schedule things correctly so that I can have enough time to do these things. And, it's not just doing an interview, it's also kicking it with these people, talking to them. Sometimes they want you to chill. The studio that we went to with Wyclef was his personal studio. So, he kind of just was really free flowing, chill, and wanted us to kind of hang out a little bit longer. So when you have a time schedule that you're on and constraints like that, you kind of have to reevaluate and get your baby on track. And so we've been managing by doing a lot of phone interviews. So we had Chasing Cash not too long ago, about, I can't even remember, but some time ago. And he was in New Orleans at the time launching one of his clothing brands. I think it's Respect Us or Respect Me, or I think it's just Respect. Yeah. Okay, don't quote me on this, but yeah, he's actually he came out of the Shore Club, which is a bunch of different producers, in the early 2010s. So Polo the Don and Hit Boy and all those people. He was in that circle at the time. Those are the people that he came into the game with. He did a lot of work on Take Care. He won a Grammy for that album. That's Drake's album, Take Care. And so we talked about a lot of things during that interview, but behind the boards, the premise of the show started as what happens in the studio, what happens in the session, what happens when you get in there with the artists. How are they? Are they smoking? Are they on task? Are they diligent in the studio? Do they need candles? What is their writing process like? Then it got to, no, I really want to know what happens. Do you have health insurance? How do you pay for things? Do you have dental insurance? Is this a sustainable career? Should somebody really consider going into this? Because we have a lot of young kids that are trying to become producers or artists, and they don't know about licensing and things like that. So I started to ask questions like that, as opposed to who are your top 5 producers, which is a very generic, basic question that you can find in any magazine. So we do a little fluff, but just for viewers who may be interested, that is something. If you meet a girl, you like the girl, what's your favorite color? You want to know. So we'll do ask a couple of questions like that, or I do ask a couple of questions like that. But I also ask, the questions that I really want to know the answer to, like, are your cars leased? And do you find that to be a better, a better outcome for you as far as money goes, and that's kind of how the interviews go. So, like I said, afterwards, we usually kind of kick it with people for a while. And so,
So you usually hang out with them and get to see them, like, basically just like on their schedule, right? See what their day-to-day looks like, and then you go and interview them.
right. Mm-hmm.
And how long does that process usually take? Because that probably means that, unlike most podcasters, which for the most part, you can sit down, you do a little bit of research, and then you just start talking. Like, that's a pretty extensive process, right?
It kind of depends on who the person is, what the schedule is. So, sometimes we get people who can come into the studio and they really only have, a certain amount of time. When we went to do the Zaytoven interview, he was also doing, he had a premiere that he was also doing for Birds of a Feather, which is a movie that he did for Netflix. And this was, the sequel to it. So he had a lot of other artists there. Cash Doll is also in that movie. And so, he was promoting her at the time before she kind of started really getting, a little bit of steam behind her name. So he had other things to do. So he only had like 20 minutes to eat, 30 minutes to talk, 25 minutes to talk. So we had to go in the studio, and then we were trying to get the Little Yachty interview at the same time. We don't have a lot of time. So we have to strike while the iron's hot. So we have to go here, do
Right.
that. And for that, that's why I was mentioning I have to have a babysitter on deck, trained to go because I have to go. So, we just kind of see
when the phone calls, like when someone calls you and says, when Luke calls and says,
Right.
hey, we're ready, you got to be here, you're running, right?
if anything, if we really can't work it out for whatever reason, the phone interview is the best thing, and we have a really good engineer, so that works out for us.
That's awesome. I wonder, like, it's so interesting because it's really the lives of the artists that are the sexiest, or that, you see them like winning awards and Grammys, but no one really realizes what goes behind, exactly like your podcast, behind the boards.
Right.
No one realizes the hard work, the long hours. What's a typical day like for someone like that? Is it, you're starting at like 2 a.m. and going until like 9 a.m., or it's definitely not your regular 9 to 5, that's for sure.
So what is the day like for when I'm doing these type of things?
For you, as well as like one of the producers that you shadow before you interview them.
So basically, I have to find out what is on their agenda for that day. What is, their itinerary for that day. Sometimes these interviews get rescheduled multiple times. Sometimes I get everything set up where my fiance can go take, our kid out and do something, and then I'm waiting, and then the person can't make the call for whatever reason. So I missed the call. We have to reschedule, and then it's like a toss up. Do we want to do the interview anymore?
Mhm.
Is it worth it to do the interview? Should we go on to the next person? So right now, that had happened with a major reggae artist, well, a reggae producer, and so I kind of tried to see if it was worth rescheduling, but maybe we won't do that until the fall because we kind of have another series going on right now, which is the executive series, and that is highlighting so people who have a link to hip hop music, but maybe they work in fashion, maybe they work on the actual the legality side of things. So maybe an entertainment lawyer, maybe
Mhm.
maybe they do licensing, or maybe they are the head of some type of label. We also had someone who started a website and an app where you, as a young budding producer who wants to get into the game, you can license your beats to up and coming artists. He just created this out of his house, and he's shopping it around, because he wants this to start, picking up some steam. So he, in an innovative way, started a way for people to kind of get their streaming done, and all the rights and music, the money, all the royalties are coming back to them, but they're still independent. And so he figured out a legal way to do that. And so we moved on to him for now. We did that interview with him. And then we also had Harlem Haberdashery, which is a boutique out in Harlem, which is well known for making a lot of clothes for a lot of celebrities since the early 90s, about 1992. So that suit that you see Nipsey Hussle wearing, the blue suit in the DJ Khaled video, a lot of, basically almost all of the outfits that you've seen him wear in all of his last 2 years of life were made by this company, 5001 Flavors. The owner of 5001 Flavors is also the owner of Harlem Haberdashery. So we were able to have a good talk with her and find out, a lot of interesting things as far as how they create a lot of things. So if you know anything about fashion, especially in hip hop music, the names June Ambrose, very important name. Hype Williams, Atiba Newsome, you know Misa Hilton. These are all people that created the bad boy look at that time. And so
Mhm.
these are the people that Nas, Khaled, if you ever see Khaled in one of those shirts, he is connected to 5001 Flavors. So he actually takes out those custom pieces, those fabrics, those prints, and he makes these outfits for Assad and Khaled. And actually, one of my friends, actually another friend from St. John's, one of my really good friends, she knows that guy that works at 5001 Flavors. So she got me in touch with him, and he made my son's first birthday outfit. And I
It's
was
awesome.
amazing connections. I'm telling you, St. John's, okay, any school, do your networking. It's not just about getting that A. Okay.
That's absolutely true. And keep doing the networking now too.
Yeah, of course. Networking is important wherever you go. And I mean, that's a way that we were able to secure a lot of interviews, is just pure networking, charisma. Also going for it, not just waiting around, just taking that chance, hey, just hit this person up, see if they respond. If they don't, whatever, let's move on to the next person. But let's just see.
And you and Lou seem like a really confident duo where you're aware of your strengths and you're like, we're just gonna go for it. We're gonna make it work.
Right.
And if they don't knock on our door, you know what? There's more doors for us to knock on. We're good.
Absolutely. Of course. Why not? Try. How would you know if you don't try? You know?
That's very powerful. That's true. You were talking about a little bit earlier about your life and trying to balance it all. Like, and you became a mom, which is such a monumental moment in any woman's life.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you have a full-time job, now 2 podcasts? You have a relationship, you have a baby, you have 2 apparel and merch brands. How do you do it all? What's your advice to budding, not only podcasters, but people who are hustlers in multiple different areas of life?
That's very funny because I see people ask this question all the time. And I really believe that too. I really feel like, wow, Beyonce, you really know what you're doing. Like, I really feel like a lot of these people that just have all this stuff, Jennifer Lopez, you really know what you're doing. No, these people have a lot of help, and I have a lot of help. I have a lot of help, and there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, and there's a lot of rescheduling that takes place. There's a lot of anxiety that happens behind the scenes of hoping things turn out, even though you cannot, plan the perfect storm or the perfect anything. It's just like I said, just kind of going for it. Whatever happens, happens. Plan for it, but if it doesn't happen, don't lose it because it doesn't happen the way you planned it in your mind. It'll work out eventually. But yeah, there's a lot of planning behind the scenes, and of course, I really manifestation is real. I said in my mind that I said in my mind, I said it out loud, I said it to my friends. I'm not going to be going into a place of business every day. I would never wear a suit to work. I would never wear a uniform. I would never be answering to someone. I just never saw that for my life. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And yes, once I did leave school, you know, we all had to get jobs, because our parents wanted us to pay back those loans. And so I did get a job and I was really unhappy there. Um, it didn't start out that way. It's just that I got a job because my parents wanted me to I didn't get a job because I wanted to get a job. I had worked in school already, but I had enjoyed the job I was doing. And I was investigating money laundering. That is not a job that I chose. It's just a job that I got, and I was good at it, and I was cool with it.
And it paid the bills.
Right, I was making good money. I didn't have bills at the time, but my dad was still paying my phone bill at that time. I mean, I had
Well, it paid the loans.
right, right. So it was just like something that I was doing at the time. But then when I got out, and people just started talking of, my goal was to pay back my loan in 2 years, 3 years, whatever. And so I was making double payments, and then it just got so real because it was like me making these double payments is not making my interest really go down or my loan go away quicker. it's really just taking a lot more money out of my pockets. And in the long term, I mean, I'm kind of paying it down faster, but the fact that I even owe money, is already, a strike
Right.
against me. So, coronavirus, thanks for that freeze on the student loans. Because I know a lot of people needed that break. There were a lot, I still have friends paying off their loans. But yeah, I got the job, and I was at the time working with a lot of people who were telling me what they were supposed to be, but now I work here. And I knew in my mind, that's not going to be me, you know? So at some point, I just did a lot of things to get myself fired from that job. We had casual Fridays, and then I just started showing up casual Thursdays, casual Mondays, because I'm a sneakerhead, and I just couldn't get with business casual. What's the point? Nobody can see us.
You were a low-key rebel, or maybe a high-key rebel at your job.
I think I'm high key. I'm just a chill person, and I'm. I feel like I'm very chill, and the fact that they were really starting to pressure me about dress code turned me into a rebel. So I was purposely doing things to get fired, and it took a long time for them to fire me. But once I got fired, I went into an industry that I did enjoy, which now led me to the job that I have now out here.
So I guess the best way to put it is everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason, and if you really have that vision in your mind and you believe it, it will happen. Because I always said I would not go into work every day. I do not have to ever go into work. I work from home. Even before this, I had the option to work from home at my previous place of business, and that was how I got through my pregnancy, working from home. I kind of stretched it out a lot longer than I probably should have, but I just felt like, why should I have to? Why I'm pregnant? Why am I going into work? Like, I'm a pregnant woman. It was just I it could
It's also just like it's not for everyone. I mean, like every person, and
yeah,
that's exactly what it is. Like for you, you had the conviction, even when you were a student, before you got that job, that that's not what you wanted. And that's okay. I mean, obviously, we're an education institution. We're always pushing our students to want to aspire to have a career, a network, etc. But it doesn't have to be the cookie cuttered way.
right.
Everyone achieves success in a different path.
And
And you're a clear example of that.
people do like that. People do love routine. People do love showing pride in what they wear to work. And I think as I've just, gotten older, I just realized, I just have to be true to myself in every facet of my
Mhm.
life. So there was a lot of, back and forth between me and my parents because they're from a different time. So even me asking them questions like, why are you thinking this way? How do you feel? How do you feel about what I just said to you? Is almost disrespectful to them because you don't talk about emotions, and you're kind of like, how can you ask me this? You're my child. And I feel like, why can't I ask you this? You're my parent. So we had to do a lot of working through that and them coming out of their mindset of how they were raised, because it is normal to have conversation about emotions, thoughts, and your psyche as a parent. And now that I'm a parent, I can understand why they may have been thinking and feeling the things that they did at certain times in my life, and I can excuse it because they didn't have the wherewithal that I do as an adult in these times, and that's okay with me.
Yeah. No, that's so powerful. I mean, again, like you're a woman filled with conviction. You knew what you wanted. Um, you're like, check.
Thanks.
And the podcasting industry is now, wasn't probably back in 2015. It's very saturated.
Right.
So how did you guys, you, Lou, all the producers, everyone that worked with you, how did you know that this was going to work? Because it had to work. You had left your job, you wanted to do something different, maybe not like specifically to start behind the boards, but you knew you wanted something different. So it kind of had to work. Like, how did you work through that?
um I think everybody knows what they are supposed to be doing, honestly, deep down inside. And this is so funny because I've always thought this, but I literally just saw Eddie Murphy saying this on the Arsenio Hall show on a clip on Instagram, like literally last night. I mean, like early 80s, he's saying this. And, they're asking him, how did you know you're going to be in the show business? And he was like, I think everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. I think everybody deep down inside, they know what they want to do. Even if they don't know I should be doing that, they have a feeling of, I don't really want to be doing data entry at this hospital and medical records. They know that they kind of want to be a carpenter or a gamer or something. I want to be on YouTube, whatever they want to be. They know that they want to be that, but they are rationalizing in their mind, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to maintain this house? How am I going to sustain a life like that? And they keep themselves in that mind frame that doesn't let them do what they want to do. So they go to work and they pay their bills, but they're not really happy. And it manifests in different ways, arguments with your friends, your family, your wife, your whatever. And I never had a desire to live my life like that. I have to be fully expressed. And I just don't ever want to feel like I'm doing something against my grain, not the grain, my grain, because this is my life. I have to live it every day. These people that I'm pleasing, they don't have to live my life, So even if I did not, in my mind, even if I don't have a pension or whatever, hey, things will figure itself out. Okay, we have property, multiple properties, and thank God for that. Thank God for my parents doing the right thing. Thank God for my grandparents doing the right thing. We own land, a good amount of it. So these are some other blessings that I have, you know. I just found out about them recently in the last decade. So don't think that I went through my life thinking, oh, I got it made. I don't have to do anything. No, I just, now that I'm an adult, I can, understand what's going on in the world. And
do you think that experience also afforded you to take some more risks recently?
absolutely. Absolutely. Now that I understand how the world works, now that I have real financial literacy and, understand what's going on in the country and, you guys need a financial literacy class at St. John's because
I think every university needs that. That's for sure.
It's just honestly, there are so many things people think that they need to excel, financially, or they need to excel. Some people spend their whole lives excelling spiritually. You have to excel in every part of your life. You have to explore every facet of who you are to really become an evolved person. I'm not some Dalai Lama or anything, but and I haven't had all these, tragedies in my life and been in poverty or anything like that. But I've been through a lot of self-realization in the past decade, which got me to the point where I'm at, where I can be happy in my life, whatever the circumstances. So that is what success is for me.
For sure. And I think every person like going through those moments of self-doubt, self-realization, finding your purpose, it takes, in my opinion, two things: time,
Of course,
and the will to want to find those things. For me, those are the two like key they're the key to that part of success, or your definition of success, right? And I think we had like a really unique experience now, especially with the pandemic, to figure out what we want. We had a lot of time to reflect, to absorb, to reshape our future. What has that opportunity brought about for you and the podcast?
So that has given me, the pandemic has given me a lot of time to really focus more so on really my legacy. What is my legacy? Not just for my child, but also just, a lot of time you see people have funerals and then the only thing in their obituary is that they are survived by this person, that person, or what high school or college they went to. What did you do with your life? You know, you don't have to win a gold medal in the Olympics or anything like that. You don't have to get a Grammy to have done something with your life. But, I just want to have something that can be said about me, that means something to me, my child, my family, my friends, and to people who don't know me, you know. So that's what I'm focused on now, and that is where, you know, hours and with honors and all that. And these are all just ideas that I have been kind of sitting on. The podcast that I'm working on outside of Behind the Boards is a derivative of the blog that I used to have. So just kind of taking that and transforming it into a, you know, soundbite form where we basically have conversations like this, but on specific topics and on a critical thinking level, because there's not a lot of that out there. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but there are times that I have tried to listen to a lot of podcasts, and I have to say there are some key factors, in my opinion, that make me want to or not want to listen. Number one is voice. If I listen to somebody's podcast and their voice is too high pitched, or too they talk too fast, or they talk too much, or they use a lot of not slang, but just like catchphrases, popular, you know, Twitter slang, I guess. Whatever's popular on social media, like it's the boots for me. You know, I hate when people say that. It's just like, be yourself. Like, don't just repeat whatever the saying is this week. And I see people doing that a lot. I get it. You want to get some likes or laughs. But when I hear stuff like that, I just automatically tune out. I'm looking for like something that I'm gonna remember, something that stands out. Yeah, I'm just interviewing people, you know, but maybe I'm talking about things that you haven't heard. So that would kind of make it different. I am a girl, but I'm not trying to talk in my girly voice. You know, I'm just talking like myself. And even if I don't like how it sounds coming back, live with it. Okay. Every girl doesn't talk like that. Okay. And that's just what it is. And yeah, other things.
So stay true to yourself is
Yeah,
probably the most important advice you could give to anyone starting a podcast.
absolutely. Yeah. And also, you know, structure your show in a way that's listenable, you know, sound bites or those things called little sound effects in the background. Those things, you know, kind of tune me in. Topic, content, um, whoever you
Catchy title.
right, catchy title. Yeah, if I'm looking for a show and I don't like the graphic or I don't like it's just like a book. If you saw a book and the title was whack, I don't want to read this, you know. Of course, you know, you can't judge a book by the cover, you know. So
I
sometimes,
do have like that first 30 seconds of a podcast to really reel someone in. Because I
right.
feel like after that, you're like, okay, I'll just choose the next best thing, or I'll go back to Spotify and just listen to music. I'm done.
Yeah, and it's kind of like I studied English at St. John's. That was my major. After many years in liberal arts, I went on to English. That's my first love, writing. And I don't know if they're still there. Tom Philippus and Gabriel Brownstein, and they uh, they are really great writers. And Tom in specific used to give us two words, and you had to always make whatever you want out of that. If it's a haiku, creative writing, story, if it's a short book, short fiction, whatever you want to do, just a poem, whatever, you have to write it out of these two words. And I have a friend that always brings up crunchy or not crunchy, because that was one of the phrases that he gave us. We had to come up with a whole story behind that or a whole whatever behind that. And that is the defining factor sometimes of why people will continue reading an article, which is, you know, I want to
Mhm.
become a writer in magazines. And so I had to know that whatever those first words are, that's what's going to keep the person listening. Or if you listen to a song, whatever the person starts saying, you know, you're going to say, what's this song? Or if you hear that beat, what song is this? You know, you're going to want to listen. So sometimes you only have those couple of seconds to get somebody's attention for them to continue playing. It's just like when you listen to an album, if you hear a song and you don't like how it's going, you just skip it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You really have, it's like everyone talks about an elevator pitch for your career. It's the same for a song, for a podcast, for an article. Like you really need that attention grabber in order to keep your audience engaged.
Right.
What do you think for you has been the biggest challenge as your podcast? Well, it hasn't hit the platforms yet, but what do you think has been the biggest challenge so far in the production stage
Production. I would say,
or in
um,
any stage?
what has been the biggest challenge? Really, honestly, just meeting up with everybody is the biggest challenge. because everybody's schedule is changing. Everybody's schedule is conflicting. Like I said, there's been a lot of times that we've had to reschedule, relocate. Oh, we're not going to do it at the studio today. Come to my house. Where do you live? Oh, I'm over in where did this person live? What's this place called? What's this place called in New Jersey where all the casinos are? How is this?
Oh, Atlantic City.
Atlantic City. This guy that did some work on 444 Jay-Z album. And he also did some work on the Black album, Jay-Z's The Black album. So we had to
Both great albums.
right, we had to go out there and Atlantic City. You know, my kid's really small. He can only meet at 11 o'clock at night. So, that would be scheduling, meeting up, and how much time do we have? That's the biggest. Everything else is fine.
And you started the podcast. So the idea came about in 2015. When did you guys actually start? You're like, okay, this is happening. We're in a studio, we're recording, we have a name for the podcast, we have a producer, everything's set, we have an email account. Like, when did it start?
It started in 2015.
Really started in 2015. You guys were fast.
It wasn't what you think. It wasn't what it's about to become. It started that way, and I kind of was like, what is this going to be? But it was a real studio, right there under the bridge, in Dumbo, and there were other shows happening in different. I'm like, am I really at a, that we had the mics and everything, and I started to get really nervous because this guy. Sonny that was coming in to do the interview, he had just did a lot of production for 50 Cent, Lloyd Banks, and I was like, what am I going to talk to this guy about? I don't listen to them like that, So I just started to get a little nervous, but he was really chill. We just kept talking from there, and then another interview kind of went on from there. But then it stopped for a minute because you have conflicting schedules. So maybe we had an interview the next month, but we can't do it until this month, and then we do it.
Mm-hmm.
Do it this month, but we can't meet up. And if we do meet up, we only have 20 minutes, but the show has to be this long. So there were stops and starts. And then, of course, with the pregnancy, there was basically we taped, I think, our
bigger stop.
yeah, we did our last episode of the first season, and then we did the photo shoot for the source, and then I did the article for them, and that was it. We didn't do anything for almost 2 years. We probably did an interview in between that. I think that was the Wyclef interview that we did in between that, and then we didn't do anything for a long time. A lot of that was like people. We had to find a new engineer. We had to find a new studio to go to because that studio in Dumbo closed down. There were other things. That's why I said there were a lot of things that were happening behind the scenes. So that's why it's still, in post-production. It's not on platforms yet because there have been so many times that we paused in between and that, nothing happened. So it did start in 2015, but it not, probably the end of 2015, it started.
Mm-hmm.
And then, now it's kind of really come out into fruition to something that we can put on streaming platforms.
Veronica, you're just an incredible person. You've done so much. You're so intriguing and interesting, and you speak your truth. You're very authentic. I love how honest this conversation has been. It's been so much fun just talking with you. And just before we wrap up and get into the Q&A from the attendees, which it's popping over here, let me tell you, I went quick lightning round. So just quick snippets of answers, and I'll ask the next question. Sounds good?
Shoot.
Great. Favorite celebrity you've interviewed?
I don't want to answer that question.
Favorite producer you've interviewed?
Favorite producer? I would say Wyclef only because he has such an extensive catalog. And I grew up listening to so much, and it was so sad. I started the interview and I started singing Guantanamera, and it was like, really? It just took me back. I mean, I was so young.
I can't wait for that episode.
I just remember seeing that video, hearing that song all the time. I'm from Harlem. We walk in the streets all the time. And you pass the Dominican salon, you're hearing, all type of Spanish music, and that was his thing at that time. So, that was what came to mind. It wasn't anything that he's done, anything else that he's done. That was the song that came to my mind, and he started singing it with me. It was really weird. But yeah, that was fun. He was really fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so great when you can talk with someone like that, especially like in a professional setting. This is still work. At the end of the day, it's fun work, but it's work. And you're just able to vibe with a person like that. All right. Favorite episode of your podcast?
There was one. There was a couple, because you learn. I can't really pinpoint one because there's a couple. There was one with this guy, DJ Unique. He did a lot of production.
What you're saying is we have to listen to it all when it comes out, and we have to figure out what our favorites are. I see what you're doing there. I see. That's smart.
They release information about things that happen behind the ghostwriters, all kind of things like that I didn't know about albums that I really loved. So it's kind of like, oh my gosh, I never knew that, and you're really solidifying it for me now. So those things, those are the best moments that I have in my mind of interviews.
That's awesome. All right, favorite song?
I don't have a favorite song. There's too many songs.
Best New York pizza?
Best, can you repeat it?
Best New York pizza?
Oh my gosh. Ray's or Bleecker Street Pizza.
Where are those? I've never heard of Ray's, or is it Liquor Street?
Bleecker Street.
Bleecker Street.
Street is, of course, on Bleecker Street. And
yeah, Bleecker Street's amazing. I agree. I heard Liquor Street. Clearly, you know where my mind's at. I'm ready for a drink.
One moment, my son is.
Bring him over. We want to say hi.
Yeah, so Bleecker Street Pizza or Ray's. Ray's.
Okay.
Now there's Ray's and then there's not Ray's. Not Ray's. Ray's.
Ray's. Okay.
Right.
Your best St. John's memory that's appropriate to share?
Just the dorm, everything that happened in the dorm. Freshman year, that's my best memory. Freshman year was anybody going to college, even if you leave, even if you don't finish, at least do freshman year. Freshman year was the craziest experience of my life. I never had lived, away from home, and just all the things that you learn about people. You get to see people outside of, how you see them at high school. You get to see them in all different forms. So that's the best thing about, for me. He has to go. Yeah.
This is how she balances it all. This is how you do it. Sometimes you're on screen and you never know what's going to happen. Alex, Joe, I see your questions. And Frida as well. Frida, you have a great question. I love your question. Hi.
Oh my God.
He can stay. We want him to stay.
Wait, I'll be back in a minute. Oh my God. I'm sorry.
No, please. Like I said, you're amongst friends. This is perfect. It's like we're at your house.
Oh my God.
Oh no, this is exactly how it should be.
So
there's a bunch of people typing in here. Too cute, adorable.
So all of
his fans,
any of my friends that are in here, they know that this is a common occurrence. Oh my God. Okay, next question. I'm so sorry.
Last for me is, what is one word that describes your career aspirations?
Just one word that describes my career aspirations. Really, I'll just say legacy. Because my legacy, like I said, it's not just for,
Legacy.
yeah, it's not just for me, or it's not just to prove something to people. It's just to kind of, what is my footprint? You know, who was I? Did I even
Mm-hmm.
exist? If I don't have a footprint, did I exist? Because my friends and family know me and remember me, I feel like that's not enough for me. I feel
No,
like I feel like I have more to give.
that's very powerful. And it matches who you are and what we've heard from you the entire session. So I love that answer. So Veronica, thank you. This has been so much fun. I'm going to move it into Q&A. I recognize everyone that we're bridging the 8 p.m. time, but Veronica, if you have a few more minutes,
Sure.
that'd be great to hear from you. So I'll start with Alex G's question. Do you find that as a woman, you need to infuse sex appeal in order to appeal to a wider audience?
That's a great question. The honest answer is yes. The honest answer is yes. Not purposely. I am naturally sexy. But there's an image that comes along with anything that you do in entertainment. There's an image that comes along with anything you do in the workplace. So if you see somebody that's in a higher up position at your place, at the bank, wherever you work at, the law firm, even if they're not the most attractive person, they're usually polished in some way, well groomed, I'll say. So I think being a woman, you already have sex appeal, you know, even if your hair is short, which, is against, certain standards in the Western civilization, whatever the case is, women will find you men will find you attractive. So you automatically have sex appeal just because you have breast. That's how simple men are. Okay.
That's
So, but
You're not wrong.
but in this industry, because it's so male dominated, I use it as leverage because maybe I'll get you to stay a little bit longer to the interview. Maybe I'll get you to answer a few more questions that you wouldn't answer for other people. And because I'm knowledgeable about hip hop and music and behind the scenes, so I'm into production, I'm into songwriting and all that kind of stuff. Because I know about all these things, like who wrote that song, what year it came out, what crew that was from, who was the team that put that song together. Because I'm knowledgeable about those things and attractive. Somebody might get turned on by that and be like, I want to interview with her again. So it is kind of like a thing that you can use.
No, absolutely. And even before, just to add a little secret here that Veronica and I were sharing a couple of weeks ago when she was supposed to feature this series. Yes, there was the blackout. And so she called me on my phone and she said, you know what, this works out so well because I haven't been able to get my brows done and I'll be able to get my brows done. And I said, yes, girl, get those brows snatched. Like we need that. So here she is. Here she is.
You guys just saw my son. He has my eyebrows really thick. He has mine and his dad's eyebrows, very thick eyebrows. So, if you guys saw me a week ago, you would have had a lot to say about me and not good.
No, I'm sure there would have only been very positive things. I'll keep it moving in the interest of time. So Frida, you have a question. I'm going to Yes, a friend. Okay, we're gonna come off mute now. Frida, floor is yours.
Oh.
Oh, I think she went back on mute, but she asked about your skincare routine.
I'm here.
Oh, she's back.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Hi.
So what's your skincare routine? Because your skin is glowing.
You guys don't know. This is like one of my. This is a lifelong friend. This is my friend from. Oh my gosh, almost. I want to say, is it elementary? Maybe junior high.
Yeah, junior high.
Oh my gosh. Hi.
Hi.
Right now, we can talk later. But skincare. Hey, wash, cleanse, tone, exfoliate, moisturize, as natural as possible. I'll send you the list afterwards. I got you on the text, girl. Okay.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Follow Ellie,
Keep doing your thing. I'm proud of
Beautyologist.
you.
Will do. Thank you. I love you.
Love you.
Frida, thank you. Also, not that this is for me, but LA Beautyologist on Instagram, she's the girl. You guys need to follow her. She's amazing.
Hold up. Your skin is looking kind of glowy too. What does?
No. I'm doing nothing. I'm trying to hide over here. It's all you.
Okay.
So let's go over to Joe Barone. Joe has a bunch of extremely interesting questions, like
Joe!
pertaining to the podcast.
Also, Joe at the top.
Joe, also, again, a fellow podcaster,
Joe,
slightly different industry.
I want to listen.
Joe, he said that he was actually just on chat today, so I'm going to read his questions. But Joe, if you want to come off mute at any point, just let me know. So the first question is, how many people typically work each podcast episode?
How many people typically work? What does that mean? Like how many? Well, he does.
How many people are involved in the production of each of the episodes that you released?
I'm gonna say at least 3, because it's really just me, Lou, and the engineer, whichever engineer we choose at the time. And literally, all you need is a mic, a good mic, time and space, a good area with good sound, and content. That's what you need. Yeah. So it's really just 3 people.
Perfect. And how long does it take to produce the typical podcast episode?
Ooh, that depends on when we can get the engineer to cut, to edit, review, and then we need to hear back the sound quality. So we also have to listen to the show after it's cut and everything to see and we have to tell him where to stop, because the interviews are going, but a lot of times the person is telling me things that they don't want to air. So we have to tell them where to stop. Don't put that in. So there's some cuts in there. You guys aren't going to hear them because they'll merge the track. So there's a lot of like things that happen behind the scenes in the actual interview that never air.
Gotcha. And then he asked, can you describe the marketing efforts that you and the others take to publicize your podcast?
Well, because we didn't know which format we wanted to use, like I mentioned, we were talking about going televised and how we should go about that. I know he was interested in Trace TV, which is a newer channel and network. So we kind of were like, should we do it this way? Should we even release any of the episodes? Should we release, a couple of minutes of each episode? And then we decided, well, for now we have we have a go to really do it this fall. So now we have started picking up promotion on things. So now we're doing a lot of promotion from our social media sites and our pages. And then from there, we're doing things like this, which is collaborating with other sources. So as I mentioned, we're doing the executive series, which has I don't want to say it has nothing to do with music, because they're intertwined, whatever the field is, whether it be fashion or anything else. Even skincare, we'll do some things with these people just to see what their journey was. And then kind of merge it because they're shared with their audience. So we're getting their audience as well. And people like, while they're driving, I listen to podcasts while I'm cooking and cleaning. So whoever loves listening to podcasts will kind of say, let me check this out, because I saw this girl that I follow who listens to this, or she promoted this, or she was on this, and that's how you kind of get into the vein of listening. So we're going from there. Now that we both have time to put into it, especially with the quarantine, we have time to really focus on promotion. And at some point, we're going to get one of these kids, one of these Gen Zers to, give them, some money to do that, because they love to stay on that all day long. So, we'll work that out.
Maybe you should go back to St. John's and hire Johnny.
Right. I wish.
Shameless plug.
Of course. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Joe's last question is, what is the one thing that you now know that you wish you knew when you started podcasting?
Ooh.
Good question.
A couple of things. Believe in yourself. Number one thing in life, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Don't keep your blinders on. Don't think about what anybody else is doing. Don't look at what I don't listen to any other. I do listen to podcasts, but not about music. And if I do listen to them, I don't compare. I don't think about that kind of stuff. I just, kind of maybe keep in my mental Rolodex what worked, what didn't work, what can I do different. Like that.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Also, um, Maddie here, similarly on the same kind of vein, she says, how did she overcome the pressure to fake a personality in an effort to get more views or likes on her podcast? And how did she become fully comfortable being herself for strangers?
That is a great question. So, well, I think I kind of answered this a little bit the first part of the question in the beginning. I never faked my personality. I initially went in thinking I was going to do that, but I couldn't maintain the fake voice. So I just said, why would I do that? Because I kind of thought, is my voice really deep? You know, do I sound like a dude when I'm talking to these guys? But I have to stop thinking about what I hear girls' voices sounding like on television or on the radio and just I mean, I talk to people like this every day and they don't say anything. So I just took that out of it. That would be the only way I would be faking my image. I'm never going to wear clothes that I'm not comfortable with. I'm never going to promote something that I don't actually like or use. So I never really faked my personality or thought about it besides changing my voice. I really did consider changing my voice and also thinking about when you kind of think about how maybe somebody has a certain type of show and they think about how another show works. So they say, let's open the show like this because this works for them. I think in the beginning, I may have thought a couple of things about that, but just no, just no. Just do whatever we're doing right now. Like we were just starting. Hey, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And we'll learn from there. What's the second part of the question? I forgot what the second part was.
Let me go back. Give me 1 second. I'll skip over to another question and then go back to that one because I think I just lost it over here
Sure.
in my chat. But Natalie asked, where would you like to see your podcast in 5 years?
I would like to see it in another form, whether that be televised or not, whether that be YouTube or not. I guess just in a taped episode, like a taped format where you can see us live. Like we do videos when we're in. I know we got Swiss Beats, and because we were so new, he wanted to see footage from he was like, did you guys really speak to Zaytoven? Can we see the video from it? And just to prove that we actually had a show with credible artists and not just up and coming artists and things like that. So, yeah, at some point moving into the televised or, video form. But for the other podcast that I'm working on, I would like that to kind of be like a healing series for people, for women, for youth, for new adults like myself, um, for people like us who can talk about real things in a critical manner, as far as critical thinking is concerned, and still be ourselves, but really get to the bottom of issues and not just be junk talk or saying cool things, funny shit, and laugh and no, let's really talk about what's going on and why.
Yeah, and I think especially now, like we're in a world, and even now with the pandemic, it's so oversaturated with communication. Like we're being overfed communication in every single digital channel and aspect of our lives. So it's really critical that we find our niche and that we provide something that's worth listening to, viewing to consumers, so that actually becomes value added instead of just added.
Right.
Content added, right? Going back to Maddie's question, I think you fully answered it, but I'll read it up again. How did she become fully comfortable being herself for strangers?
Yeah. I think at some point you just don't give a F anymore. That's the best thing.
I like that. Also known as do you, boo.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's critical. Mm-hmm. So important.
Definitely.
That's my life motto. So I like to share it whenever possible. Always plugging it in. And then the last question is from your friend Brittany, who says, when is the podcast going to officially drop? And I think we all want to know that. And she also said, can we be on it? Can I be on it as a friend? I also want to be on it, by the way. Not that I have anything to share.
Oh yeah. No, we will. We will be. It's slated for this fall. I don't. September's like right around the corner, so I don't want to say September, but definitely in the fall, definitely before the winter. Like I said, we're picking up promo now, just to kind of get it going and to really, we have to have, because this has to do with money now at this point. So,
Mm.
we have to have all of our things in place, all the ducks in a row, so that we're getting all of the money that we're profiting from the show. And as far as airplay is concerned, so we're getting things together on the legal side as well. That's another thing that we are working on. And of course, building more relationships so that we can bring better content, more guests. And, I told you before, we got on that we really want to get a female on the show as far as production is considered. And that is something I think it's a lot of times similar to what's going on with me as far as having a family where you have to keep rescheduling because we've had people that we were interested in that we had to keep rescheduling with. So I think that's something that we definitely want to bring in because there's a lot of women songwriters and producers behind the scenes, a lot of ghost producers and ghost writers behind the scenes that are not getting their credit and want to speak out about it in a respectful way. So yeah, definitely want to work on that. So just bringing more perspectives and different guests from all genres.
That's awesome. And I love your mission to have more representation on your podcast, as well as to continue to empower females through what
Right.
you're doing. It's so powerful. You are a phenomenal person. We're so lucky to have been able to listen to you tonight, Veronica. Thank you. It worked out really well that we rescheduled this. So this was a blessing in disguise. That's awesome. I wanted to thank everyone who's joining us. I'm sorry that we went over a little bit. I hope that was okay with you, Veronica, because everyone wants to hear from you. Everyone had so many questions. Everyone's so curious to see what you're doing, learn more about the podcast. And everyone's just generally very impressed by your goals and how you choose to, lead your life, which is awesome. So I'm quickly going to copy paste some resources here on the chat. So this recording will be available on the virtual events library. Now, will it be edited or not? I'm not sure. We'll see.
Right.
And I'm also linking our alumni events page so that you can go ahead and check out any of the upcoming events for this fall. So they'll be popping up very soon on that page, stjohns.edu/alumni events. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and being engaged tonight. Veronica, again, thank you for your time and for blessing us with all of this great content. We're extremely lucky to have you and to call you a Johnny.
Aww, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Glad to come back to my alma mater. And definitely thank you to everyone that came and joined tonight. I know a lot of people are going to be watching later because I had a couple of people that, just really are at work still. So it's no worries. I thank you for even wanting to, do this and seeking us out. And I'm excited about, the playback. Really excited about the playback.
I'm so excited. This is your first live, I guess, like a video opportunity. So you're always behind the mic, but you're not in front of the camera.
I know.
So this is a first.
This is something that I've been getting approached a lot lately about things like this. And I've, been so private and kind of held back on these things and, kind of not really turn them down, but just rescheduled them. And I think after this now I feel a little bit more chill about it. So yeah, definitely one of the first of many.
Yes, and I'm happy that it was here at St. John's.
Right.
You're awesome, Veronica. Thank you so much for your time. V White, everyone. A round of applause from me, at least. We'll applaud. Here we go. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.